This is the plaintiff, Samantha Hill. She says she rented a vacation house from the defendant, and now the woman's claiming she caused all this damage and is refusing to return her security. This woman's making these damages up. She's here today in court because she won't allow the defendant to rip her off like this, and is suing for the $900 she's owed. This is the defendant, Jacqueline Swan Delgado. She says her spectacular lake house was ruined by the unruly plaintiff and her family during a one-week rental. She has been renting for 10 years and has never kept the security until now because the way she left her house caused her to have to spend money fixing it up for the next renters. She's accused of making things up. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $3,252.59 for additional damages.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff says she rented a vacation house from the defendant, and the defendant is charging her for all sorts of things that she just didn't do. But the defendant says she's been renting for 10 years and has never kept a tenant's money until now because the plaintiff trashed her beautiful lake house. It's the case of go jump in the lake.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
All right, Ms. Hill, so you rented a house from Ms. Delgado, correct?
Yes,
And where was that house?
in the Thousand Islands in Cape Vincent.
And how much were you paying for the house?
I paid the $900 security deposit plus the $1,800 for the week.
And this house was on the water?
Yes,
Now, your father had rented this house from her in the past, correct?
correct. It was about 5 or 6 years ago. So we already kind of knew the house. We already knew the owner of the house. Like, we knew she was a stickler, so I knew what I was coming into the house, like, to keep it clean. It was very much on point with that.
Were you? Because you left a ton of garbage.
So I never got the contract because she sent it to my father.
Did she never sign a contract for the rental that had all the rules and regulations?
I didn't.
I had both her and her boyfriend review the expectations when they were at the home, but the actual contract went to her father, who rented the house.
Did her father pay for the house and sign the rental agreement?
No, Samantha sent the deposit, but quite frequently, many families go together to put the deposit in, and that security deposit
I understand,
is
but
returned to
you're
them.
letting her in and know what you didn't have a signed contract.
Correct. I was expecting her father to be there, and he wasn't there
Yeah,
yet.
but he wasn't
It
there.
just-
And then you have eyeballs. You see he's
Correct.
not there. There's no signed contract. You know he hasn't sent you one by email. So there is no signed contract. So it just slipped your mind to tell her, sign this. I need
Correct.
to see that you're, okay. All right, let's be honest about that. So then now, according to you, Ms. Hill, what did you think were the rules about stuff? If you didn't sign anything, your father didn't sign anything, what did you think you were supposed to do about everything?
Well, honestly, I remember asking my fiance, I was like, what day does garbage come? I was like, because garbage accumulated.
Well, did you pick up a phone and
he was
call
like, I
her
don't
when
know.
garbage accumulated?
I never did. I never called her.
Okay, so you just left the garbage to be somebody else's problem. And I think it's pretty obvious that that was not going to work because someone was moving in the same day you were moving out, right?
I did not know that.
Okay.
From what
So
she said, she showed us the garbage cans. She showed us where to put our garbage, and that's where we did. And there was obviously more garbage.
And she never
than
said
what
to
a
you,
normal
you
family-
know where you need to dump it? She never said to you, you know
No,
where you
never.
need to go to
She,
Okay, and let me ask you, Ms. Delgado, do you say that you told her, look at these forms, did you hand her anything in person when you realized that Dad wasn't there? Dad never sent you anything by email signed? Dad never acknowledged it. You didn't have a sign. Did you say to her, hey, let me print out, the rules. I need you to know what to do, or did that not happen?
It did. I have a two-sided document that I handed both Samantha and her boyfriend to read. And on the back of the one side, it has all the expectations of what has to be done as far as cleaning the house before they leave. And on the back, it has all the information about the transfer station, the days that it's open, and it's absolutely closed on Sunday.
Okay, did you have them sign that so that you could have proof that they
I did
acknowledge
not have
having
them
read
sign it. No, I just handed it to them to read it.
All right, so did you have a good time, Ms. Hill? You had a good time, right? Everybody had a good time?
we had a really good time. My husband, my fiance was leaving for the military the next weekend. My kids were about to go to school. Like, we just wanted to spend a good weekend with the kids, and they had an amazing time. We had a really good time. The house is beautiful. It's right on the water.
It
Like,
is
we had no
beautiful.
complaints
Right.
besides the bugs.
So, Ms. Delgado, when you came in, oh, besides the bugs, tell me about that.
There was already like a bunch of gnats on the outside of the house, which is normal. Like, you're on the water. Like, I was totally prepared for bugs. But we couldn't even use the 2 bedrooms that were facing the road, infested with gnats. Literally, my kids slept in the living room.
So what you guys
Right.
did was you put tape on the windowsills.
Yes,
Did that end
we
up
did.
helping?
It
Yeah.
did.
Well,
It
she's
helped
really mad about that.
tremendously.
Okay, but
I
then you
know,
didn't
but it was
take the tape
final.
off, did you? Stop a
Right,
second. That's
no.
not the point.
Sorry.
You put tape all over the bedrooms and then you just leave it that way. And so when
Yeah.
she claims that when she took it off, there was damage. And you guys left
Right.
it that way. I mean, that's not small. Do you have any proof that the tape that was removed damaged the windows?
I did not take pictures of the tape, the damage removed. I had the painter come and inspect it, and he's the one that gave me the estimate
And what?
for
And
the
give you
repair that needed to
he
be
gave you
done.
an estimate for just a second. He gave you a repair for redoing windows. I need to see that there's proof that the windows need redoing. Anybody can give you an estimate for what it costs to redo windows. I need to know that they needed redoing. That means you take the tape off and you show how she damaged it. You see? Now, Ms. Delgado, when you transfer the house to them, when you meet with them and you're showing them stuff and you're walking through stuff, after you had accepted the deposit, you all of a sudden hear about a service dog, correct?
That is correct. I got a phone call from Quentin, her boyfriend, explaining that a child needed a service dog. And we do not have dogs allowed at the house. Not under any circumstances have I had dogs at the house for many reasons. And because he made this sound very important, this child needed her service dog, I was not in a position to not allow a service dog to the home.
And then what happens is on the
guaranteed me
day
that
that
there
you're
weren't
giving
gonna
them
be-
the house, there's not 1 dog, there's 2 dogs that they brought, right?
That is correct.
And did you say anything to them about how many service dogs do you need? Like, what is this? Are you just bringing all your pets? Did you say anything, or you just kept your mouth shut?
I kept my mouth shut. He acknowledged that he was going to make sure that the house was clean, spotless. He assured me that Samantha is a clean, meticulously clean person, and I would not have to worry about the dog or the kids or my house.
Okay. So then what happens is the week goes by, you don't hear from anybody, right?
Correct.
And you go to the house and they are not there. Had they told you that they were leaving early?
No, they did not.
All right. So what do you find when you get there?
So I went to the guest house for a little bit, and I didn't see any stirring at the house because the house is pretty close. And so I waited till about 10:30, maybe about 10:45, and I went and knocked at the door and opened the door and said hello. Nobody answered me, and it was silent in the house. So then I proceeded to walk in because the house was open.
Let's go through the pictures that you introduced into evidence. This is a picture of a screen, and the screen has several rips in it. Did it have any of
Correct.
that when you gave it to her?
No.
All right. What do you think happened? You think maybe the animal with the nails and, ripped it, I guess?
Yes.
This is debris that you swept up?
Correct. That shows
What does this picture support?
probably ground in food, possibly little raisins or cranberries. That this floor was supposed to be washed before they left.
What is
Yes.
that?
Yep. That is the first pass on about a 10 by 10 foot area. That's the first pass. I changed that bucket about 15 times to clean the floor.
Okay. Okay. Were you doing that
And
right before the new tenant was going to come in?
I was doing it while they were there. I had to ask them to please wait.
Is this the garbage they left?
Yes.
So what ended up happening? Did you have to drive back to address the garbage issue?
I took about a third of the garbage home with me that initial day. I filled the back seat and the front seat, rolled the windows down, and put the air conditioning on. It was putrid.
How far is
normally
the
takes
drive for
3
you?
hours. It's 3 hours, but it took me 5 because I had to stop and get out of the car frequently.
I mean, Ms. Hill, do you understand what the problem is? I don't know what you thought anybody was going to do with all this garbage. All right, these are the famous windows with the gnats and the tape. And, well, this one kind of, I guess you were pulling the tape up, but where's the damage? All right,
Everything that they taped
so
is all wood. It's all painted wood.
That's wood, it's not metal. Okay, so if I'm supposed to see that lifted the paint, Why can't I see it in this picture? Did you ever give her a list of the things that are the reason why you were keeping the security deposit?
I did. I sent everything to her father
But why do you keep saying her father?
because the house was rented to her father. I did not get any other information that Samantha and her boyfriend were the renting people.
All right, so you call the father and you tell him what the heck, and you go through this stuff with him. Did you send him a written list of why you were keeping the security deposit? With
I
their
did not
prices?
send a written documented list. No.
No. But you do have a counterclaim for all of this stuff. So I'm going to handle everything at once, but you need to understand what the law is in your state and what is required of you so you can do it the right way the next time, because one of the things that a judge can do if they think that that was done on purpose and that you're being sly about things is double the recovery for the plaintiff on this. So you need to be very, very careful about that kind of thing. So you refuse to give back the $900, and you're saying, as a matter of fact, now that you mention it, because she's suing you for return of it, you say to her, you owe, I'll see you that $900 and raise you another $3,252.59. So you're going to have to prove to me that there is $4,152.59 worth of damages. So let's go through it. Window repair. Is the estimate for new screens $175.96 from Home Depot?
I don't have it right in front of me, but it has 3 window screens and 2 sliding screens.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's $175.96 plus $171.30. Then you drove up to get the garbage out, and you are asking for reimbursement of your time and mileage. What is it you're asking for that amount?
I can explain to you that I had to have my son take off time from work. I had to take off time from work. I did not put in my rate of how much I would charge if I had to get paid to work all day and my son to work all day. We're professionals. I just charged our minimum wage and the hours that it took us to leave
Well, let me
Rochester,
ask you something, though.
come
She
up.
says that the document, right, but she says that the document that you sent her says, oh, by the way, if you leave garbage behind, I keep $100. Is that true?
If you leave garbage in the house.
Garbage.
We're not talking about
Yeah.
a week's worth of refuse. Very different.
I don't know. Let me see your
Very different.
document. No, there's nothing about inside the house or anything. You're trying to charge $700 for the garbage. I know you're mad, but your own contract says, note, $100 fee is charged if any garbage is left on site. On site, which is what she did. So why should you be able to get any more than $100 if that's what your understanding the understanding you give to people through the contract, you know? All right, then you are complaining that they broke the hammock to the tune of $745.18, and you want a brand new hammock. According to you, they broke the wheels. Prove to me that they broke the wheels of the hammock.
In the pictures that show the screen broken and my finger in it, you can look through it and you can see pictures of the wheels. They're flattened and the frame is bent.
I don't see where the proof is that there's a deflated wheel and you are entitled to $800. I mean, how am I supposed to see that from that picture? Why don't you just, I got an idea. If you want $800, why don't you just take a picture of the deflated wheel and then give me proof that it can't be replaced? That would be a better way to prove you're entitled to $800 for that, right? Rather than how you're telling me to look through a screen, look at this picture, and see that the entire hammock is ruined, which I don't see. I don't know if those wheels need a little air. I don't know what happened. But you want $800 for that? You want a brand new hammock for that? I mean, you don't think you're overreaching a little bit? All right, let's see the next thing in your lawsuit that you want to be reimbursed for. Kitchen sink cabinet replacement. Why would the whole kitchen sink cabinet need to be replaced?
Because it was soaking wet and warped from the water sitting in it in those bags.
Do you have a picture of that? Do you have a
me.
picture of the actual, stop. I don't see a picture of damage to the interior of the cabinet. So I can't order her to reimburse you for something that you can't show me a picture for. So I find that there's insufficient proof of that. Let's go to the next item that you're keeping for. Garbage removal, we've talked about. Thorough house cleaning, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I am looking through your claim. I'm here to tell you, Ms. Hill, that if you think you left that in an adequate condition, you shouldn't be renting houses because you don't understand what the rules are. And that is not an adequate condition. You left it filthy. There was food all over the floor. You left garbage in all of the garbage cans, okay? You left bags because they're useful to somebody else. No, you leave no footprint when you rent somebody's house. Everything you take in has to leave because you are not the arbiter of whether someone else is going to want your refuse, okay? You left 8 bags of garbage in the side of the house that became a tremendous problem for her. It's probably the thing she's most mad at. You know, you really, really left it filthy. You know, she had to sit there and break her back cleaning up for the next person all in a hurry, all right? She's angry because you really did leave it a wreck. I'm giving you all the grief because you're the only person I can talk to. I know there were a lot of people staying there. It's everybody's job, not just yours, because you're the mom. It's everybody's job to live, but you know, since you're the litigant and you're coming to court, you're the only person I can talk to. Your crew left this really messy and dirty, and that's a problem for the next person. Nobody wants to move in. If you had seen raisins all over the floor and garbage and all the garbage cans and tons of garbage, would you have rented the house? I'm pretty clear that you would not have accepted it that way. You would have turned around and looked at Mr. Delgado and said, are you out of your mind? Clean this place up. Well, that's obviously what the next crew was going to say. So, yeah, there's a cost to that, all right? Maybe not $4,000 something like Ms. Delgado wants the cost to be, but a cost nonetheless. Based on what you have been able to prove, I find as follows. You're entitled to the money for the screens. There's no doubt in my mind that the animals did that, and that's the reason why you don't allow animals. You're certainly entitled to the $200 for cleaning. That's for darn sure. The thing that I keep going back and forth on is the garbage, because Ms. Hill wants the benefit of that contract without having signed the contract. And I'm just wondering, why should that happen? Why shouldn't it be closer to what your actual damages were or closer to what I think is fair when, in fact, nobody ever signed a contract? And according to her, she didn't even see it. So she couldn't have been relying on it because she didn't even see it. I find that you're entitled to keep $200 for the garbage because I don't think she gets to take advantage of a contract that according to her, she didn't even see. There's no reason why I should stick to that. And what ended up happening was causing a lot more grief than $100. Therefore, I find that you're entitled to keep $747. You're certainly not entitled to get an additional $3,000 something, and that means that the plaintiff is entitled to some money back in the amount of $152.74. That is my verdict for the plaintiff in the amount of $152.74. Good luck, folks.
Ms. Delgado, the defendant, I know you wanted a lot more money. What are you thinking? You're going to have to give her back $152, I think, of that security you're holding.
Yeah, I think that's pretty unacceptable for the amount of damage that the tape did to the windows. It was a very large part of this to get those windows back. They're brand new windows and they were damaged because she felt that it was necessary to use packing tape all over brand new windows. So there's still quite a bit of damage.
Ms. Hill, I think you are very lucky to get anything back. How do you feel about it at this point?
I mean, honestly, most of the pictures that she had didn't show any damage. There was no actual damage. The biggest thing was the garbage. Besides that, there was no damage left behind, and I cleaned thoroughly before we left. There was a little dustpan and inside of a garbage can that she was complaining about.
Anyway, you're getting $150 back. You should thank your lucky stars. Okay?
Thanks.
Well, that's one of the things about renting a place. You want to leave it as clean or cleaner than it was when you got there.
Yeah, she didn't get the place that way.
No.
Okay, so whether she had a signed contract that told her what the rules were, she needed to pick up a phone and call and say, hey, there's gnats, what should I do? Can I put tape on the window of your house?
Right.
No, don't put tape on the window, I'll be right up. And then leaving the garbage there. She knows she didn't get the house that way. You have to leave the house exactly how you got it.
Exactly. Hey, 20 years ago, you and I were given like 3 or 4 days at your good friend's house in the mountains in North Carolina. And we went there, we had the best time. We had our first child was with us. And I remember the day before we left, you just all of a sudden said, listen, we're going to leave this place unbelievably clean. And you put me to work.
And he had said to me, listen, this is my parents' house.
Right, it's got to be.
It's got to be clean. My parents are going to use it after you leave. And I said, I promise you, Tim, it's going to be super, super clean. I promise you.
You had me turning over the cushions on the sofa and the chairs to look underneath them and make sure there's not crumbs
We
or extra
vacuumed.
stuff.
We
and
vacuumed under
vacuuming
these things.
Underneath the cushions. And what did you find under
A
one of the
gold
cushions?
watch.
A gold watch that had been missing for like
10, 15 years. The parents hadn't found it.
Grandma's gold watch.
Right. So I left it on the counter with a note. We found that under
Right.
such and such a chair. And Tim calls us when we got back and said, "Oh, my mother was so happy. She had been missing that watch for 15 years."
A family heirloom was discovered because you made me clean underneath the stinking cushions.
That's right. I recall that I was the one cleaning, but yeah, okay.
That sounds unlikely.
Okay, now, Daniel from St. Louis wants to know this. Hey, Harvey. Huge fan and have been watching since the Watner days. You're making me feel old now. Was he really as stern and no nonsense off the bench as he was on? Yes. He was great. I mean, he really was. He did not suffer fools, and sometimes I was one. But he would tell you when he was unhappy, that is for sure. And honestly, it's what made him a good judge, and it's what made him entertaining. Remember, this was at a time when we hadn't seen judges on TV. So, you know, when you get played by Dustin Hoffman, who's really a fan of your show, you're doing something right. See you next time.